if you don't mind, I will give the floor to Zalka Drglin. She will present us the presentation Adverse Perinatal Experiences, Health and Quality of Life. Zalka, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for your invitation. I hope we see each other, and I hope you can see my presentation. Yeah? Thank you. Well, I thank you even for the readiness to listen about early childhood, because every time we think about babies, in some way we think about our childhood too. And because we all have been babies once, as we know. Well, the two of them seems to be in a nice connection as they step into the world. I invite you that you step with me into the theme of adverse. So that means like potentially traumatic babyhood experiences as follows. Well, adverse childhood experiences are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood, we mean from 0 to 18 years. And we all know that traumatic events in childhood can have lasting negative effects on health and well-being. Well, we have like 5 personal, potentially traumatic events. That means like experiencing physical violence, emotional abuse or violence, sexual violence or abuse, physical neglect and emotional neglect. And then are 5 related to other family members, like witnessing violence at home, a family member with addiction, a family member in jail, a family member diagnosed with a mental illness, or disappearance of a parent through divorce, death, or abandonment. So everybody can have a score from 0 to 10. Each time of trauma counts as 1. So for example, a girl who's been sexually abused with one alcoholic parent, and like a grandma who was beaten up has an AC score of 3. And yes, there is a long-lasting negative effects on health and well-being. Well, we have to know that adverse childhood experiences are common and they often occur together. The first original AC study was conducted at Kaiser Permanente from 1995 to 1997, and the Kaiser Permanente published a groundbreaking study that investigated the impact of AC on physical and mental health problems in over 70,000 adults. And they found that adults with an AC score of 4 or more were at significant greater risk for many behavioral, physical, and mental health issues later in life. So, in last year, the first AC study in Slovenia was conducted in the population from 18 to 75 years. A little more female than male were respondents, and the final number of respondents was 40,940, so nearly 5,000 people. In addition to the described 10 ACEs, which make up the basic number of ACEs, we included in the research additional adverse, potentially traumatic experiences from the first 18 years of life. Based on the previous definition of additional adverse childhood experiences, we included 6 experiences like You can see peer victimization, isolation, rejection from the peers, material position below average, poor school performance, serious care accident, serious illness, the death of a person who was closer to the participant than the parents, and experience of discrimination. So what we asked in this Slovenian AC study, we used the original AC questionnaire, so the basic ACs, 6 additional adverse experiences, and 6 special questions about their early babyhood adverse experiences. Additional questionnaire was used about positive childhood experiences to know about the resilience of the participants. And of course, the questionnaire is about health and illnesses, lifestyle, and the quality of life in adulthood was used. So just to have an impression of our results, in the Slovenia AC study, people with 4 or more AC scores compared with those who didn't have any, nearly twice as likely to have asthma, allergies, gynecological health problems, 2 to nearly 4 times more chances for obesity, chronic skin, respiratory, kidney, gastrointestinal disease or migraine, 4 to 5.9 more chances for chronic fatigue syndrome, and the risk of suicide attempt is 6 times higher. So what about early experiences and effects on health? Well, we all know there is a lot of new knowledge, new data, new models and new theories. So to mention just few of them, like epigenetic, which asked which, when, and where genes are turned on or off in the very early days of our lives. And it said that environment and experience influences how their genetic blueprint is read and utilized. And we have a lot of knowledge in developmental neuroscience about brain plasticity, life course science, attachment theory, toxic stress, like those who want to say to us what we already know, put such knowledge into the scene. You can see it right now. And very simple pictures about like stress and its influence in our brain architecture. It's very important that we are knowledgeable about such new modern knowledge. And here we can see like some new model of human health and disease. It calls eco-bio-developmental model of human health and disease from American Academy of Pediatrics. And it's important to know that through epigenetic mechanism in the early childhood ecology, the womb ecology, and family relationships are meant like some kind of social environment, influences our biology, which becomes embedded, like influencing how the genome is utilized. So ecology and biology drive development across the lifespan. So it's like very common sense right now that foundations of lifelong health and are built in early childhood. But what is really happening to the baby in the very first days, months, years? What's happening to the fetus? Let's know a little bit more about adverse babyhood experiences. Adverse babyhood experiences are new concept in development. There is a subset of ACEs, and it shows like a distinct set of risk factors for chronic illness in adulthood. Okay. Well, we are talking about perinatal period understood broadly, about adverse experiences of the mother before conception, adverse experiences of the baby or about the fetus in pregnancy, during birth and postnatally, and about adverse experiences of both parents in pregnancy, during childbirth, and in the babyhood period. Oops. Okay. Well, I suggest that we use more precise term, that we use adverse perinatal experiences, because a lot of adverse experiences is happening even before the conception and in the period of pregnancy and during childbirth. Well, we have like 5 categories of ABs which are connected to mother, maternal loss and trauma, and mother AC. Lack or loss of support for the pregnant woman or mother, serious maternal stress and or mental illness of her, serious maternal physical stress or illness, and 5 of them are connected with the baby and the mother and the father. So difficult, complicated birth like C-section, forceps, and vacuum birth, sick premature and injured baby, low or high birth weight, difficulty in breastfeeding or not breastfeeding at all, mother and baby separation, and hard to care for baby. So, as traumatic events in childhood can have lasting negative effects on health and well-being, ABs can have lasting negative effects on health and well-being too. We have an extended research field, scientific evidence, and the problem is how to develop complex, dynamic model of child development, health, and well-being. So I will show just few examples, those with red star in the previous slide, or green star. So, hen or egg, we are thinking about transgenerational trauma delivering, and we are going to think about the ACEs and the quality of life of woman, which influences the baby, which influences the girl and her ability being a good mother. So we know that women with previous mental health problems are in a greater risk of experiencing childbirth as traumatic. We can conclude that some of ACEs mean an increased risk of traumatic birth experiences, which has been proven, like women experiencing childhood sexual abuse. So previous traumatic childbirth is also thought to pose a risk to well-being in pregnancy, expectation and experiences of childbirth, and that have a consequences on fetal development, the childbirth, and the building the bond with the child. We can think about difficult, complicated birth for the mother and the baby. Well, it should be pointed out that the birth experience itself has a short-term and long-term positive or negative impact on woman's life, well-being and health. Women can experience childbirth as traumatic, and some experience mental distress after it, like women can experience post-traumatic stress syndrome after childbirth. The latter, among other things, complicates the care of the child and has a negative effect on breastfeeding, connection with the child, and so on. And other, mother and baby separation, separation of mother and the child in the days after birth, is and somewhere was a unique phenomenon in Western culture, which has spread globally with medicalized childbirth. Placing a newborn in a separate room away from the mother is or was a source of stress with negative consequences, as it's known now. So non-interrupted, long-lasting, and continuous close physical contact between the newborn and the mother and father is of paramount importance for the short-term and long-term health and development of the child. Enables the development of sensitive processes of connection, bonding, between the child and the mother or both parents. Non-interrupted contact between mother and newborn in the first 24 hours, especially in the first hour or hours after birth, enables and supports the processes of bonding between them. Lactation and breastfeeding. Microbiome is created, important for the child's short-term and long-term health. And neuroscience said close physical contact after birth in mammals satisfied basic biological needs. This time could present a psychophysiological sensitive period for programming future behavior. So skin-to-skin contact is very important. Of course, there are other potentially traumatic experiences in the perinatal period: unwanted pregnancy, infertility problems, fathers with ACEs, serious problems in partnership, and so on. So maybe we can see about some percentages of participants in the Slovenia survey on ACE who reported the earliest adverse experiences. Well, in our study, the data about perinatal experiences is not extensive. We asked participants about the earliest period of their lives. In doing so, we asked them to think about how much they know about the time their mother was pregnant with them, how much they know about their own birth, and the first 3 years of life. For the following 4 items, participants indicated the answer yes, if the claim is valid in their case, and this is considered potentially traumatic, and not if the claim is not valid. So, oops. My mother was seriously ill or experienced war, loss of partner, husband, experienced domestic violence, or had severe financial problems, or was hospitalized for a long time during her pregnancy with me. A little less than 1 entire participant reported serious stress of their mother during pregnancy. And for the question about their mother's serious stress in the first 3 years of their life, 1 of 10 reported major stress in the first 3 years of their mother's lives, as you can see. 1/10 reported a complicated birth, C-section, forceps, or vacuum delivery. And participants additionally answered the questions about contact with the mother after birth. And nearly half answered that they were at the maternity ward in the room with the mother. A fifth saying that they stayed separately from the mother in the neonatal ward, or nearly 4% reported an incubator. And a lot of them, they just didn't know. So nearly 14 or 15 participants said, I don't know. And one of very important results is that 90.1 respondents report hospitalization, at least one, without presence of parents in the first 3 years of their life. So, what is trauma-informed maternity care? If we know that AB can be seen as a sign that the child's expected ability to adapt and develop is exceeded, so more support, help, and possible treatment are needed. AC increases the risk of mental and physical illnesses and lower quality of life later in life, in adulthood. Understanding of potentially traumatic experiences at the earliest period complements existing knowledge about AC. Understanding ABs also enables the development of tools for early prevention, identification, and treatment of disease. Knowledge of AB is the foundation for developing, improving, and upgrading parenting practices and strengthening support for motherhood and fatherhood. ABs offer tools for improved care practices in the healthcare system, especially in maternity hospitals. So perinatal care, based also on understanding adverse babyhood experiences and the origins of adverse experiences in the perinatal period, introduce, strengthen, adapt practices, health services, enabling the development of a child-mother-child-father bond, secure attachment, support breastfeeding, enable and support physiological processes of pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period. Recognizing the importance of ABs of the pregnant woman, mother, and father, future father and mother, their various forms of violence, abuse, etc., and their consequences, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, risk of difficulty bonding with a baby, and take them into account when designing individualized perinatal care. So what is trauma-informed maternity care? Having those data for Slovenia and understanding both ACEs and ABs, or as we suggest, adverse perinatal experiences, APs, provides new opportunities for health promotion and prevention of chronic health conditions in youth and adulthood. So it's important to prevent adverse experiences in future mothers and fathers. With prevention of adverse experiences in children and young people who are future mothers and fathers, pregnant women and fathers-to-be and fetuses, women, men, fetuses during childbirth, mothers, fathers, and babies. And at the other side, when there are too few nurturing experiences in the face of too many adverse events, we need recognition, detection, support, help, therapy and treatment, and opportunities to heal. So their steps are very secure and we can see like very happy. But what are our steps into the future? I think we have to think about first, do not harm proverb. We have to think about supporting physiology. We have to put mother and baby and father in the center of care. We have to develop empathy, cooperation, and the most important, respect for their wounds and powers. So thank you and hope you found new ideas to take into your professional and private life.
Thank you, Zalka. Nice presentation.